Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, I have absolutely no problem answering questions or explaining to those who maybe, that don't understand exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. I see a lot of people, not a lot, it's very few and far between. The support, silences and drowns those in opposition right now. But the statements that I am seeing that are in opposition to what I'm doing, they're all pretty much the same. It's he broke the law. If you don't want this stuff to happen to you, follow the law. And, I think that's the problem is that, we can't even really get a straight number of how many laws are on the books. There's so many of them, The estimates range from 25,000 to 40,000 statutes. I mean, that's a lot to know. That's a lot to keep track of, right? And it seems a little bit ridiculous that there's that many laws, statutes, and rules, right? And then people do things and they're told, oh, you broke the law. And it's like, well, which one of the 30,000 laws did I break? And see, that's why the supremacy clause was even put in place in the Constitution, which simply states roughly that no law, policy, procedure, like nothing that the state says that is in conflict with the Constitution of the United States of America needs to be abided by. I do not have to comply with your unconstitutional laws. Now, in the moment of non-compliance, you guys will enact a consequence upon me. You will arrest me. You will steal my things from me. You will try to make my life a living hell, which you have been trying to do since I started voicing my concerns in November of 24. But rest assured, it's going to be a grueling process. It's going to be uncomfortable, time consuming, and there will be some financial costs to it. And I may not win, who knows? I mean, anything can happen. I'm completely and totally putting my faith in God, in this country, in the Constitution, and in my neighbors, that if I continue on the path that was set forth to combat these unlawful actions of these officers and these elected officials, I have faith, that justice will see the light of day. I mean, they cannot self-will, our country. We cannot allow them to continue to self-will our country into the toilet. We cannot sit back idly and cheer on the Steelers and the local sports teams when those same people that we're applauding and cheering for are having their rights stripped away from them piece by piece. They don't even realize it's happening. A majority, I think, of the kids, they're being kids as they should be. They shouldn't have to be worried about all this stuff. We should be educating them on these things, but this is not a battle for the kids. They're supposed to be enjoying being kids, but the adults aren't doing their part. We're not educating ourselves. We're not sharing our education once we do attain it. We're not taking our educations to the podiums of our local school boards and our commissioners' meetings and telling these people who are making decisions that not only affect us, but our children and over the overall future and health of our community. We're not showing up and defending our stuff. I mean, life, liberty, and freedom. I mean, defend those things at all costs. Yeah, of course, the threats are going to come. You might not get an invite here. You might hear that somebody said something about you when you weren't around. And I just ask you, at the end of the day, when you really look at life, does that stuff matter? Does it matter that Bob Bossart doesn't like me or what I'm doing? Does it matter? Lori Reamer, does it matter? Brian Carlton, Rob Bunovich. I mean, this is the caliber of person that is taking an issue with what I'm doing in the community. And, I tell them all the same thing. I mean, hey, if this is how you want to spend your time combating the Constitution, combating the American family, combating with God's will for us, I mean, you're being combative with the natural process here. And if you don't believe in God and that's not your cup of tea, I encourage you to maybe be open-minded and willing to hear about these things. When I'm not trying to force anything upon anybody, because I was not always on this side of the belief myself. So I don't force it on anybody, but I mean, go ahead and take religion out of it. Take Jesus out of the equation, take God out of the equation, if that's what you choose to do. I'll never remove them from the equation that is my life. But if you want to remove them, remove them. Let's just look at history. Socrates, Joan of Arc, Brutus, John F. Kennedy, Charlie Kirk. The list goes on and on. Take religion out of the equation if you want, and just look at what is the basics of what we have going on. And that's this. We have a group of people that have taken control and power over the masses, and they fearmonger them and abuse them into submission. Then they tax them to death. They leave them with no free time to enjoy life, right? And then you got somebody, whether it was Socrates, and Jesus would fall into that category with these men as well. And you get this person that emerges and they go, no, there is a better way to live. Or no, this is not how it was intended to be. Or just simply no, not today, we're done. You're done oppressing the people. And then this is what we watch happen. We watch Socrates forced to drink the hemlock, right? We watched, we've heard of, we didn't watch these things. We've read about them. We read about Socrates drinking the hemlock. That was his punishment. We watched Jesus get crucified. We read about Jesus being crucified. That was his punishment. Some people that are seeing this video, I'm not one of them. I'm a little young for this, but you watched John F. Kennedy's head get blown off. You watched Martin Luther get shot. A lot of us saw what happened to Charlie Kirk on September 10th. We keep these are patterns. These are reoccurring themes. What is happening? Nothing new. This ain't new. It's just that, somebody to emerge in a way where they say, I don't care what the consequence is. I'm done playing this game. I'm done with these false narratives, false realities. I'm sick of watching my neighbors abused. I'm tired of having my rights and liberties and my happiness robbed from me. I'm going to figure out what's wrong. And then the person, they start studying, they start reading, they start cross-referencing, they start applying their own anecdotal life experiences to these things, and things just start lining up. And then that person has a decision to make. And what that decision is, like, oh crap, I'm starting to figure some of this out. Here's my options. Option one, I can say the heck with everybody else. I can take my knowledge, I can take my intelligence, I can take my skill sets, I can weaponize those, and I can antagonize the people for monetary gain. And I see a lot of that. There's a lot of people on the internet that, I do respect what they're doing. I do respect the information they're given, but sometimes I watch the way that they present it. And I can just see that, well, they're presenting it in a way not to bring about resolution, but to cause conflict. Because sadly, we live in a society today where that's what people want to view. That's what they want to see. They want to see conflict, right? I don't like the way that is, but it is the way that it is. And there's a lot of money to be made in conflict. Or you could do what I do, and you can say, I'm going to give all this to the people, raw and unfiltered. Raw and unfiltered, I'm going to start telling the truth. I guess the third option is that you just do nothing, but I never really even think about that option, because doing nothing has never been an option for me. Whether the right thing or the wrong thing, I've always been doing something. So doing nothing isn't an option. And, clearly I'm taking the second path, which is like, despite persecution, despite consequence, despite threat, despite retaliation, despite, knowing that there definitely is a realistic possibility that, something bad could happen to me. Maybe I just get taken out altogether. I don't know. I mean, you read about the situations previous to this one, and you see that, like, wow, those guys did then what I'm doing today. And then you look at the demise of every single one of them. And then you have to be intelligent about it. You can't be ignorant to the fact that, well, that is a possibility. But despite that possibility, I walk in my faith. I walk with my moral compass in hand, and I go where it tells me to go. It's not always where I want to go. It's not always the funnest place to be. It's not always the most lucrative lifestyle. It gets very lonely. There's a lot of tension sometimes between you and the people around you, but that's when you have to have a foundation to stand on. You got to get in that square, and you cannot allow anybody to do anything that's going to remove you from that square. So, as far as the laws go, this is the way I look at it, right? I had to do this searching and fearless moral inventory with a sponsor, right? Where I had to write down essentially all my assets and defects. Like, what are the qualities about Nick that are good, and what are the qualities about Nick that lead him to problems, right? And there's a long list, right? Some people would vanity, ego, pride, greed. 7 deadly sins definitely make the defect list. So I'm sitting here I'm writing these, and it's kind of like the laws, right? Thousands of defects. And I'm sitting there and I start thinking to myself, well, how can I simplify this? Because that's the way my mind is wired. When I come into a complex situation, I look for ways to simplify it without taking away from, the sustenance of what we're dealing with. So I'm looking at these defects and I'm going, okay, yeah, so I got that one. I got that one. Is there any defects that are always present? Every time something bad goes down, is there like a defect that I find is always present? And I found 2 of them, different stages of my life, different ages, different circumstances. There were certain defects that I found in every bad situation that I found myself in life. And what those 2 defects were, my fear and my pride. My fear and my pride. I make bad decisions when I'm full of pride, which makes sense because pride comes before the fall. And I make bad decisions when I'm trying to manipulate a situation because I'm fearful of the outcome. So I want to force the outcome, the way I want it to go. And I've learned time and time again that is not how, this works. You don't get to force a situation without consequence. So when I told my sponsor, hey man, I'm all done. I'm ready to meet with you. And he's like, man, that was quick. And we get together and I've got those 2 things written. And then he thinks that I'm just trying to get out of doing the work until I then explain to him that, like, if I can keep my fear in check and I can keep my pride in check, then all of the other defects work themselves out. Well, that's the same logic that I apply to the laws in this country, in my state, in my township, is that why in the world would I take the time to try to know all the different laws? There's tens of thousands, when all I really have to do is make sure that I'm following along in accordance with the Constitution of the United States of America, because that is the supreme law of the land. And as long as I'm doing and acting in accordance with that supreme law of the land that governs coast to coast, top to bottom, then I'm good. And I can move about my life knowing that if I do something that falls in line with the Constitution and the state wants to double back and charge me for a crime because somewhere along the way during one of the legislative sessions, we weren't paying attention and we allowed them to put a law on the books that's in direct conflict with the United States Constitution, I find it much easier to navigate through life with a lot less fear and a lot more confidence, understanding my Constitution, understanding what the Constitution is, what the Bill of Rights is, why these things were put into effect. And then you start to realize, like, wow, that's why they wrote the Constitution. That's why they wrote the Supremacy Clause, because they knew that over the course of time, there was always going to be an opposing side to what they were building that wanted control, too much control, more control than they are entitled to, right? So they put that document in place. They wrote that Supremacy Clause to make sure that they couldn't just from now until the end of time, just every time they don't like something or they get uncomfortable, they can just run and write a law and say, oh, you can't do that anymore. Like, they made sure. I mean, what a beautiful document. What beautiful minds that the founders had. How considerate, how caring they were to think about us. And to study human nature and to know that if we don't put these safeguards in place today, the people in the future are screwed. And that's basically all I'm trying to get people to do, is to see that we are the founders today. We may not have started, but we surely at bare minimum are the stewards, and we must protect what was founded for us. We have inherited this. This was a gift that we should be doing everything in our power to pass along to our children in better standings than we received it. I just don't know how, with that kind of problem always floating above my head, I don't know how to focus on anything else. I'm able to put it down and spend time with my son, but that's about all I've been able to put it down to do. I haven't been able yet. I hear the Steelers are doing really good this year. Haven't been able to watch a game, because when I'm sitting there watching that football game, or when I'm sitting there trying to watch a movie, for my own entertainment and enjoyment, I just can't stop thinking about, is this my responsibility? Is my responsibility to be sitting on this couch and watching this football game? I mean, do I have a responsibility to enjoy life? Is that a responsibility? I was never told that one of my responsibilities in life was to have a good time. I've been told about a lot of responsibilities that I have as a human being, as a man. I now am seeing the responsibilities and the importance of a father. I was blessed to have a great one. I'm trying to be that for my son. But nobody ever told me that I had a responsibility or a right to enjoy myself. And, I think that that's a concept that we have a little bit backwards, where like we feel that because I did this, I'm entitled to that. I worked 10 hours today, I'm entitled to go to the bar. I worked all week, I'm entitled to go to the football game. No. If you have the time and the resources to go do that, I'm not trying to guilt anybody for enjoying themselves. Enjoy yourself. We all need to be able to enjoy ourselves and relax, right? But can we just try to take care of our responsibilities first? Can we all come together as a community, as parents, as grandparents, aunts, uncles, just Americans? Can we come together and can we rectify the government, issues, the governmental issues, the lies, the cheating, the stealing, locally? Leave the national politics alone. That's the trap. Stop letting them suck you in to the theater. It starts here. It starts in your backyard, in your community, in your neighborhood. It starts with you, your family, your children. That's where it starts, not at the national level. That's where these people start. They start at the local level, they climb their way up the ladder, and a lot of it is just them being tested by the ones who already hold power to see, like, hey, is this guy or this woman, are they going to jump in with us on the bullshit, or is this one of those honest ones? And then when they determine that you're an honest politician, I could imagine life gets pretty miserable for you being an honest politician in the country today and the standings that it's in. So, I didn't intend for this to be a 20-minute video. I never do intend for them to be long, but for some reason, I just can't seem to sum up these extremely important. I mean, I really care about these issues. This stuff really means something to me, and it's really difficult for me to cram such important things into short videos. So, I really appreciate those participating that have joined in on what's going on, that are, liking, sharing the story with other people, your continued support and comments. Amazing. I mean, I could not be here. That was the entire purpose of the November 11th, 2024 video that I put out, where I called the police to my house. Like, it was a cry for help. I can tell everybody it was heard. It was heard. And people have started to show up in numbers with support. And it gives me a lot more confidence to do what I continue to do. It definitely just adds that much more strength to my faith, right? Because my faith tells me, that my cries are heard. Like, my faith tells me that, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. I mean, it tells me that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And I have to tell you guys, I'm living these things. I'm experiencing these writings. I'm watching them come to life in front of my eyes. And, that, right? I a lot of this sucks. It's uncomfortable. I'm not enjoying a majority of this. But being in a position to actually watch the teachings that I believe in come to life in front of my eyes has been, oh man, I mean, that I think on my deathbed, when you ask me, I will tell you that this was, the best experience of my life for that reason. That I no longer, my faith is starting to transfer over from just like, well, that blind faith, like, I know the wind exists because I can feel it. And it's starting to become belief, because like I said, I'm watching this stuff happen in real time. And I'm staying in my literature, and I'm remaining steadfast in my teachings. And we're going to see this thing through to the finish line. You guys have my word. No matter the consequence, I will endure the consequence, because I think that this is really important for the American people to see this thing, to see what's happening, to know that there's another way. And if you choose that that's the way you want to go, is the other way, which I call the natural process, come on, let's go. We're looking for you.